everybody, and welcome to Marina's Movie Club. My name is Ethan. I am your co-host and producer, and with me, as always, is the namesake of this podcast, my wonderful wife, my film school sweetheart, and the film extraordinaire, Marina. Hi, Marina.
Hi.
Hey. Marina, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
What a movie. It's going to be really exciting. And joining us today is our good friends, Matt and Darcy. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. No, you know, I think this is the great thing about having your own podcast is there is no qualifications to be put on. It's just...
That sounds mean.
Well, neither of you have
They're
any,
not qualified to be here.
These are just random people on the street.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Found Matt at a bus stop.
Yep.
Yeah, and heard he got a podcasty voice. And there you go. That's all it really takes.
Awesome.
So tell me more about your love for movies. I think, Matt, you struck me as like someone who knows way more about movies than I do, and I went to film school. So tell me about how the heck that happened.
I don't know about that. Amateur film nerd. I'd say Darcy got me more into movies when COVID first happened. She started watching, what was the list?
Yeah, my dad and I, because I went back home for COVID, our sophomore year of college, and I was living back home with my dad, and we were bored out of our minds, and I thought it was cool if we didn't accomplish it all, but if we watched all the Best Picture winners throughout the years. So my dad and I were watching all these Best Pictures, like, you know, Midnight Cowboy, The Deer Hunter, all of these, you know, different Oscar Best Picture winners. So, and then I don't know, I was recommending some of them to Matt, and then Matt got into, what was it, Letterboxd?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Okay. I fell victim to.
So, but getting into movies was like a fairly recent thing for you then?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
You speak like such a film extraordinaire. Just that like you know everything. Like you can critique a film.
I think I just get obsessed.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is.
Are you like that in other areas of your life where you just like
Darcy's nodding.
He's a sponge. He he'll hear a little bit of something and he just like will know everything.
Awesome.
Like, yeah.
Okay. Well, I need to get something off of my chest. I've been hiding it from you since you came over to our house.
Yeah, I know. We've had a very exciting morning.
Today is,
but we lied about it.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? So the toilet leak that I was telling you about, they came over and they were like, "Can I use the restroom?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have to turn on the water because it's leaking." Okay. I tried to fix that leak on my own earlier today, and it did not go as planned. What happened was I was trying to take some parts off of the toilet to like replace them with things that I bought from Home Depot.
Okay.
And I had made the silly decision of just like removing something from the pipe that comes out of the wall. And I didn't realize how much water comes out of that pipe. I think at least 100 gallons came into our home.
Oh
wow.
It's just today.
I saw the clues of it. I saw a pipe on the ground. I saw a box of a new toilet part, and a little bit of water. I didn't put the pieces together.
Well, you know what? I think God spared us a little bit because it was a lot less bad than I thought it was going to be. But there was like a solid 3-4 inches of water in the restroom that was just like pooling up. And I thought we were going to have to like move out. I thought the home was just going to like rot the foundation.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how to shut the water off like on the main of our home.
Yeah.
I found the box where you're supposed to do it, but I thought it was more of a like precautionary thing that you're like, oh, you should probably, it's, I don't know, like some people, when you change a light bulb, like turn off the electricity at the source just in case. Right. And I was like, that's probably one of those things. Ended up not being the case. It was like a jet of water or like a fire hose.
No, yeah, it was like fire. Like it like hurt to go in.
Oh
yeah,
it's like a movie or something.
So we had to call 911, and I was like, I don't know how to shut off the water. Can you
This is an emergency.
Well, I told the 911
he was like, call
operator.
911, and I was like, do I have to? Like, is that who we're supposed to call?
Well, I told the 911 operator. She was like, 911, what's your emergency? And I was like, I just broke our house, and it's flooding all over the place, and I don't know who to call because I don't know how to turn off the water. And she was like, okay, I could just like send the fire department over. So 2 fire trucks showed up at our house.
Oh.
Yeah, we had so many firemen in
We have a bunch of wet towels in our dryer right now.
They should have joined today with our podcast.
Oh my
Yeah, they
gosh.
probably have nothing important going on. Yeah. So, anyways, I've been like shaking for the past 3 hours because I was like, I thought I was gonna have to I don't know. I just thought I ruined our house.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Anyways, things are good, and they're actually so good that we decided not to cancel the podcast, and here we are.
Yeah.
This is like our third or fourth attempt to
record this episode.
specifically.
Yeah. I know. I was like, is this not meant to be? What is going on?
Cursed movie.
Yeah.
Well, all that said, I actually have not seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in its totality yet. I've seen the first maybe hour of it.
It was supposed to happen this morning.
I was watching it this morning while I was fixing the toilet.
Okay.
And then my laptop just got shot with a stream of water. So, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Totally
I will be
understandable.
less of a member in this recording episode, and Marina will kind of guide it. And I'll just be here to spoil the movie for myself. But I'll finish watching it maybe later tonight. But I tried so many times to finish this movie, and it just was not happening.
Do you know how it ends?
You have to watch the whole thing.
Well, okay, this is a spoiler alert for
Sorry.
everybody. Because I think with all of our episodes, we spoil most, if not all of the movie in talking about it.
Do we want to do the first? Well, do we want the beginning to be no spoilers and then we spoil it at the end?
We can try that.
Yeah.
Okay, try to
I know, it's gonna
try
be
to
hard.
not spoil it, and then maybe I'll just close my ears and go. La,
I
la,
know.
la, la, la,
I
la,
will
for the
say
rest of
I knew
recording.
the end before I watched it.
Well, it has a lot to do with the
And
Manson murders. I
knew that, and I knew,
Sorry.
I knew the end.
Okay,
But
I'm
I still
fine.
watched it, and I was still stressed, and I was like, maybe what I know is not true.
Well,
you
I
know?
think my thing with movie spoilers personally, and this is kind of a hot take, is I don't care if people spoil it for me because I don't think it ruins the movie experience for me, in the moment. When I catch up and watch the film, I think it'll still feel like a new experience because you're there.
Yeah.
You know? Same thing with books and stuff. One of my school teachers spoiled the end of Harry Potter and was like, "This is what happens to him," and I was
so
like,
mean.
"What?" And this is, I'm not saying it in case anybody who's listening has not read or watched the movies, because I want to spare them if that's offensive to them. And it was offensive to me, but reading the seventh book was still as impactful as if I had not known what happened. So I think for me,
It was a weird spoiler too.
is-
It wasn't
yeah.
the most. It wasn't like, let me tell you exactly what happens at the end.
right. I think she was like, "Oh, it's the whole book spoils itself on page 1," and I was like, "What in the?" And I could not find how it does that. Are you nodding yes because you know
No, I
how
just,
it alludes to it?
yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
got it. So, well, anyways, all that said, I'm fine being here for the whole episode, spoiling it for myself.
You're not gonna leave
catching up over dinner
when we
tonight.
spoil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be fine. So, anyways, should we get started?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Did we do enough intro of them? Because
Yeah.
this was really just an
Well,
intro of
you guys are our
your
friends.
life.
Witty
And,
banter. Enough witty banter.
Yeah, witty banter. I think we're all good. Should we
Okay.
jump into it?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay. So we'll start with the content warning.
Okay.
Because we're going to be talking about the true story behind Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which gets true crimey. So if you don't want that, the whole episode might not be for you.
If you don't like yucky murder,
But also, if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you're probably fine with everything we're going to talk
or if
about.
you've
Yeah.
seen any Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
yeah, this is a Quentin Tarantino film, so just
Yeah. But once we get to the actual place, we can put another content or a timestamp in there.
yeah, great.
So you can skip that.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to start with 1969 in Hollywood, the history of that.
Setting the stage.
Yes.
Love it.
So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood takes place from February to August of 1969. During the time of the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement, and the free love counterculture, 1969 was a time of profound change in America, and more specifically, Hollywood. So the studio system that thrived during Hollywood's golden age died in the 1960s. Challenges in the form of pay TV, antitrust legislation, low admissions, and censorship had worn down the studios in the previous decade. So classics like Westerns and patriotic war movies were not receiving an enthusiastic reception at the box office. So essentially, Hollywood's golden age is the time from the early 1930s to what I read in 1962. So I think this is happening like right after that.
Can I ask,
Mhm.
golden age according to what? Is it just
So the golden age is like a term that film critics or film historians use to refer. It's mainly the studio system time. So it's like right as talkies became like the main form of movies. So when sound was invented and more like mainstream, I guess, like more accessible, is when
talkies,
it's when
like the hot Cheeto
Yeah, that's what I was.
yeah.
I was like, what are talkies?
TALKIES.
I kind of figured it was
Yeah, so it's
but
just
that's
like
in
not a
contrast
silent movie.
to a silent-y.
Yeah, silent.
So there's a silent-y and
They
talkies.
just called them talkies when they first came out.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Okay. Matt knows this.
It was probably like 3D movies where it was a like novel gimmick at first
Yeah.
before huge adaptation.
Yeah.
I imagine. I don't know. That's my speculation.
I know.
Cool.
I don't actually know a ton about
Yeah,
like
like
the
any two
early talkies.
technologies is kind of, well, it's kind of like VR right now, I assume.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay.
Or even color. I mean, I think it was maybe adapted a little bit faster than color, but you know,
Yeah.
I think you can kind of, that's a more recent thing.
That would
That
be
we
a good
can kind of-
episode to do, just you and I,
Mhm.
like the adaptation from black and white to color.
Yeah.
Because I have some fun tidbits from my graphic design career about that.
Perfect.
Yeah, that'll be great. Okay.
Well,
put
it's
that on the
funny
docket.
that you
Mhm.
said that it ended technically in 1962 because we were just talking
Mhm.
to my dad before we left. I was like, "Hey, do you have any pointers for us to say?" And Matt was pointing out, like, didn't like the golden age like end with
Mhm.
the Manson murders? And my dad was like, "No, it was actually like before then."
Yeah.
So-
I was also surprised because I mean, I think kind of if you were to more broadly consider the golden, what am I, golden days, what are they called?
Golden Age?
Golden age.
Back in my day.
Same thing.
Oh my
Golden
gosh.
days, golden age.
Golden age of Hollywood as like a whole, I feel like it does end in 1969. If you kind of, it's like ending, but then I think the Manson murders is like,
It was the
It's over.
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I've heard it compared to Kurt Cobain's suicide
Mm.
being the ending of grunge being the mainstream.
Oh, interesting.
That like a
yeah.
gruesome event
Yeah.
channels like negative association in the
Yeah.
public mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah. So the studio system, which is, if we're jumping a little bit towards the movie, Rick Dalton, the main character, is sort of a product of the studio system because in the 50s he was making a lot of movies or TV shows. And the studio system is essentially where there were 5 movie studios. They owned everything. They owned in quotes, but had everyone under contract. So actors, crew, directors, and writers were all tied to certain studios. And the studios, I was trying to find an actual number, but they're putting out like hundreds of movies a year. And so things like blockbusters and stuff like that weren't a thing. It was just like new movies all the time, not trying to make like the best movie.
Mm.
So entering into like the 70s and 80s is kind of when you get more what I feel like I would consider more like artistic movies, because then you have more freedom and like just, I don't know. I just feel like they're
It sounds like cable TV versus HBO is
yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's- yeah. Okay, so I don't know. Have you seen many Tarantino movies, Ethan?
Seen a couple. Yeah.
Okay. I personally I know that I have, but I don't remember them.
Sure. I've seen
But-
Inglourious Bastards is
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, okay. I was 99% sure that was Tarantino. And Django Unchained also
Yeah.
blew my mind.
I've seen that, but I don't remember it.
Oh,
I need to
Yeah,
rewatch.
sure.
You guys
Well-
haven't seen Pulp Fiction?
No,
I've seen Pulp Fiction.
I haven't seen
Okay.
Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
I think it
I'm-
confused me a little bit because I watched it like right as I was getting into film.
Mhm.
And then I don't know if I like fully understood the nonlinear sequencing of that. So
Oh, yeah. But you guys have seen some?
Yeah. I think this was my third time seeing Once Upon a Time in
yeah,
Hollywood.
same.
I've seen most of them. There's some I haven't seen.
I've seen, I think I've seen most of them too. Inglourious Bastards, I've probably seen like a dozen.
yeah, it's a good one.
I remember the first time I watched it. My dad and my brother, they were watching it like right when it came out. And I would do this thing where I would be really, really quiet. Like I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10. And I'd be like really quiet because I'd want to watch what they were watching, but it was like inappropriate. And so I would be like really quiet and I'd be like sitting in, because our kitchen table was behind our couch. So I'd be like really, really quiet. And I was like watching it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why are they like, well, spoiler, why are they like using a, what's it called, like a 6-inch blade on this guy's forehead? Like,
Never considered that was a thing before.
yeah, I was like, that's wow. But yeah, I like that movie a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite.
Yeah,
Wow.
same.
We'll have to do another one.
Yeah.
I know.
We have to go through his whole
I
filmography.
feel like this is like the gateway drug to Tarantino movies.
This Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well, I'm saying that from my own personal experience.
Okay, yeah.
But it's way easier to watch than the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
I feel like this one appeased to our generation. Like, well,
Yeah.
Gen, are you Gen Z? Are you guys Gen Z?
I don't know what
think
I am.
right on. It's like depending on what article you read.
Okay.
I'm either millennial or Gen Z.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like I don't some parts I'm like I don't really associate with Gen Z stuff, but then there's
Oh,
other things I
exactly.
do.
Yeah.
Darcy
think
loves
other-
Skibbity Toilet.
Oh man. So I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but I'm a middle school director at a church. So I work in a youth group every week. And the amount of times that I've heard Skibbity Toilet is ungodly.
Wait,
and I
what's
still
the
don't
toilet
fully
part?
understand what it is. I couldn't tell you. Do you
you
know
know?
what it is?
I
Please
believe
educate
it's
me.
like a YouTube series where,
Oh.
but it's like Coco Melon for these kids where they just like get in a trance and watch it. I don't think it's anything substantive.
No, I couldn't imagine that it's really educational by any means.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're just you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of just,
Not
we
not
don't need
up
to bring
on
that
it.
into the podcast.
No.
Sorry.
A Gen Z free zone.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm born in 98, so I feel like in maybe 10, 20 years, like once historians or whatever people decide
Whoever makes
where
that
the
decision.
what cutoffs are.
Yeah.
they'll
I
be
think
able
we're
see.
going to be in a different. I think there's going to be a really small generation that we're going to be in.
I have a
Mm.
That's
theory
like-
with
okay.
it. If you like, I am the youngest.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I watched whatever my siblings watched, or
Mhm.
I did what my
Sure,
siblings did.
yeah,
So
same.
I don't really relate to some things that Matt, who's the oldest,
Yeah.
has seen. Like I watched like the Neverending Story as a kid because my
Me too.
brother
Yeah.
and my sister, they were old enough to watch that. But like Matt's like, I've never seen that movie.
Never seen it.
Yeah.
And like also though, like Ratatouille, I've never seen Ratatouille.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
that's when I was the youngest.
believe
Yes, I know.
I'm gonna hold you
'Cause
hostage.
I know.
Yeah.
My siblings were like older, so it was kind of like I had to like mature and be like, okay, I guess we're gonna go watch
I'm not gonna do
Inglorious
baby things.
Bastards now.
How embarrassing it is because you watched a Disney movie when you were 8 years old.
But look how cultured she is now.
Look at that.
Yeah, but that's what my theory is. Like, if you're the youngest, depending on where you're at, like you could be a millennial,
Right.
or
Well,
if you're
it's
the
also-
oldest.
I definitely empathize with your experience because I think I have a lot of my taste in music is just handed down through CDs that my
Yes.
brothers had. And then that's how I like grew a taste for like Queen or like classic rock or like that kind of era.
Yeah.
I love Queen. Like Queen's one of my favorite bands now, but it's only because I had their like Queen's best of, volume 8 or whatever it was.
Mhm.
So it's just one of those things that is not even a thing anymore because you can't like hand down music. Everybody has Spotify.
Yeah.
Unless you're
okay.
sharing your Spotify playlist with someone. Anyways, I said, should we talk about the movie again?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
But I was basically saying like I felt like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood kind of appeased to more
Oh, that's right.
like
Yeah.
the younger generation.
Uh huh.
Mhm.
Definitely. I agree.
I don't know if it's because Leo was in it. But
So I brought up how many Tarantino movies we've seen because I guess him doing fictional things with the background of real things is normal.
Oh, interesting.
But I didn't know that because
Sure.
I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
But he changes history.
I want to save the big discussion
Yeah.
of that for the spoiler time.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
yes.
fair,
Yeah.
okay,
We'll
yeah.
get back to that.
Yeah.
But I guess just as a introduction, that's something that he does. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a fictional narrative set against a largely historical backdrop. So Rick Dalton and what's his name? Cliff Booth are the fictional characters, but it's happening in obviously a real time that existed, specifically around the Tate murders, which also, just a side note, that Manson murders, Tate murders, LaBianca murders, all the same. Well, generally the same event, but before they knew that it was the Manson family, they were called the Tate murders. So if I messed that up, that's why.
Yeah, sure.
So Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth are the fictional characters, but then there's a lot of real people in the movie. So I just wanted to go over the historical real people.
Who was that?
And so Sharon Tate, obviously. So I feel like now she's best known as just the Tate murder victim, but she was at the time best known for her role in the film Valley of the Dolls, and also in the movie she goes to see The Wrecking Crew, which she was in. It's a Dean Martin action film, which was it says one of the last movies she acted in, so I don't know. You would think that would be, you'd be able to know what their last movie was,
Right.
but so she was basically like on the brink of becoming a big star, but she wasn't a big star yet. So Jay Sebring is another character. They were dating. Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring were dating. They broke up when Sharon Tate was on set with Roman Polanski, who had just directed Rosemary's Baby. And I was trying to look up, like, I know that he was famous at the time because, well, I'm assuming he was, because Rick Dalton freaks out that he's like living next to him, but I don't know what his biggest movie at the time would have been.
I think he was talking about, like there's the Polanskis, like he directed Rosemary's Baby.
Yes,
like I remember hearing that part.
like Rosemary's Baby.
I remember hearing that. So I think it was around that time.
Yeah.
And it's interesting watching that now with the lens of knowing that he was not a very cool guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do your research on Polanski, but the movie doesn't seem to comment on that at all.
No,
which
which
was
I think
interesting.
was kind of an issue that Tarantino ran into after the release, but he's barely in it, you know, so it's kind of, I feel like I give him a pass for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about like Sharon Tate. Like, I feel like Quentin Tarantino was like doing her justice with like, I don't want to. Maybe.
Just lay it on
Okay.
me.
It's okay. We might just
Otherwise, I
Um,
would have to just step out.
Like,
Yeah.
she just wasn't known for being murdered
Yeah.
in a very
Yeah.
gruesome way.
Yeah.
You know, like this was kind of like an homage to her. Like she was more than just
Yeah.
what happened to her
Yeah.
that ended her life, you know.
Yeah.
Like she was more than just a crazy situation.
Yeah, and remembering her is way more important than critiquing Polanski, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 So, Charles Manson. So, he was living in the LA area during the 60s and created a cult of mainly young women. And he actually claimed to be Jesus, which I didn't know
Oh, hey.
until I listened to
Interesting.
it. I know. So they all thought he was Jesus. And I think like not like reincarnated, like he was just like Jesus from
Jesus
the
Part
Bible
2?
and like was still there. I don't
Oh.
know. So yeah, so he would
Okay.
use the Bible for a lot of like
Hmm.
they would like go on these LSD trips and then he would read from the Bible and convince them that
Just like the real Jesus did. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
But most notably for us is that he wanted to be a musical star. So he, some of the girls in the Manson family got picked up by Dennis Wilson from the Beach Boys while they were hitchhiking, and he brought them to his house, and then they were like, "You should meet our whole family." and we should all hang out and we'll give you drugs and girls. And he was like, cool, great. So then they all basically squatted in his house for a while. And then
their thighs must have been really sore. Sorry.
And then at some point, well, okay, sorry. While they were living with Dennis Wilson, Charles Manson was trying to record music with him and wrote a lot of music with him. And what is the Never Learn Not to Love is a Beach Boys song that was written by Charles Manson. So that's fun.
Wow.
You know?
Weird.
Yeah. But obviously he did not. I did actually find he recorded an album and I listened to some of it. It's pretty bad.
Charles Manson?
So, yeah.
Oh, God. Weird.
Wow.
And apparently he would like.
Is it like on Spotify?
I found it on YouTube.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't want to go. I mean, he's dead, so it's not like I would be giving him money, but I was like, I feel weird about like streaming it somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it on Spotify. But apparently he would just like drive around, like he would sit in the back seat with Dennis Wilson driving like his friends around or whatever, and he would just like be in the back seat playing the guitar and singing to like try to convince people to sign him as an artist.
Wow.
Hey,
Which
that
just
kind of
sounds
worked
like
for Taylor Swift.
The most annoying thing. Did it?
Well, that's how she got her record label at first. Was she just sat in front of I think it was like Sony or Paramount or Universal or something like that, and just like played guitar in the lobby until they let her go up.
That's one of the things that like, you know, after someone is like convicted of murder, you're like, I knew it all along. They were doing these weird things. But then it's like he was doing the exact same thing that Taylor Swift did. And with Taylor Swift, it's like, wow, she's a go-getter. Yeah. And with Charles Manson, you're like, he's so annoyed. Of course he would do that.
Yeah. So when Taylor Swift gets convicted of starting a cult and a felony.
Oh, no.
And just
If
murdering
anyone
a bunch
could,
of people.
she could, though.
Well, I think there's already a Taylor Swift cult.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh,
the world
yes.
hasn't really like
It's called the
accepted
Swifties.
Yes.
Wait,
Yeah,
there's a
lose a
lot
lot
in
of
common with
listeners.
her and Charles Manson. They both.
Interesting.
Oh, no.
Yes. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Maybe we should switch the title of this episode to Gone Wrong. What Taylor Swift doesn't want you to know.
Okay, so after living with Dennis Wilson, somehow they got kicked out. I don't really know how that happened. They moved to Spawn Ranch, which was a movie set. And I looked up where it was. It's like only 30 minutes outside of LA, right north of Malibu. And like exactly west. I was trying to do my
Never,
directions.
Ever smoke weed. Never eat soggy waffles.
Oh,
You ever heard those?
I've only heard the never eat soggy
Yeah.
waffles.
Yeah,
She
never
didn't know
ever
about-
smoke weed. That's the other one.
it's good to teach our
The
children.
Dare Compass.
Yeah.
It's a dare.
Oh my gosh.
So right, what did I say? West of the Burbank Airport.
West.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep hitting the table.
That's right.
I always thought, I think because there was another ranch in like Death Valley that they moved to later. So I always thought they were like over in like Palm Springs, like Pioneer Town, like by Joshua Trees, the other, that's not where they lived, but that's another like Western ranch area.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually very close to LA. So it makes sense when they drive over there. And they lived with George Spahn, who is in the movie and is an old man who basically he lets them live there, and he
Kind of
gets
ambiguous how much they're taking advantage.
No,
of a
he's
blind
definitely-
old man.
yeah. But they say, I guess in real life, he had Squeaky, who is Dakota Fanning's character, just kind of be his
wow.
like, I don't know, essentially wife, because she just like lived with him and made him happy, and he let them stay. So
Cool.
yeah. So Spawn Ranch is the place where they filmed a lot of Rick Dalton's TV shows fictionally. And that's where they were living when they committed the Tate murders. So side note, this isn't very Tate murder related, but they also in real life would go on dumpster runs where they scavenged behind restaurants in the dumpsters.
That was
so,
the movie.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did see that.
I know.
That
I
was one
thought
part that I did.
They get the
I thought it was
pickles.
kind of random, but then it actually happened. So I guess,
Interesting.
yeah.
I have a cousin who does that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm not even joking. I'm not going to say which cousin this was, but I was on vacation and my cousin is a very hippy dippy
mhm.
person. And there were these properties that had their trash out and she was looking through their garbage. And I was like distancing myself from her because I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble. And she
Yeah.
found like this like iron like sun and then like this like 70s like yoga mat. And she's like, I'm going to bring this back home with me. And she like, yeah.
Oh
Keep
my
her
gosh.
away from fanatic wannabe musicians. It sounds like that's a bad combination.
She'll get
Yeah.
sucked in.
Yeah. So I'm like, what is with, yeah. So maybe that's just
It's a hippie thing.
hippy dippy thing.
It's a
Well,
hippie thing.
they weren't working, so they also like
yeah.
they had to find food somehow.
Gotta scavenge
So
where
that's
you
what
can.
they did.
All right.
Yeah. So, like in the movie, Tate was renting a house at 10050, which is what's that? 10,050. Yeah,
Sure.
10,050 Cielo Drive in Los Angeles in 1969 with Roman Polanski, and the house they were renting belonged to Terry Melcher, who was a record producer who had refused to sign Manson. Whatever, I don't know where he worked, but he didn't give him a record deal. So it's believed that the motive behind the murder is that he was either trying to kill Terry Melcher or that he knew that Terry Melcher didn't live there, but he was trying to say, like, I can get really close to you and kill people close to you,
Mhm.
but I need you to be alive in order to give me a record deal. So I'm not going to kill you.
Mm.
So that's
Well, I remember
essentially-
there was that scene like
Mhm.
when I forget what's his name. Who's the not Roman Polanski, the guy? that-
J.C. Brain.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
like
Someone comes up to the
Charles
door.
Manson
Yeah.
comes up to the door and he's like, "Hey, is Terry still living here?" And then
Yeah.
he said, "No, the Polanskis live here now."
Mhm.
So then maybe he like originally was like trying to scout it out.
Yeah.
So then maybe his plan changed. Was just
Yeah.
trying to send a message. I don't know.
No, because I feel like a lot of things I read said that he was trying to kill Terry, but the Stuff You Should Know episode, which I trust a little bit more,
Oh, they're great
they
researchers.
they said that it was probably like he knew that they didn't live or that Terry didn't live there.
Yeah.
Because I think he had done something like that in real life. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think.
I feel like I trust that. Although a lot of I think this comes from Manson himself. So how much can you trust what
Mhm.
you know?
Sure.
Okay, so 3 girls and 1 guy went to go kill whoever was living in the house. So it was led by Tex Watson, who was played by Austin Butler, and then Susan Atkins and Patricia Krenwinkel. And then Linda Kasabian also went, and I think that is who Maya Hawke's character is based off of, because she basically refused. Oh, you didn't. I'm looking at you like you saw this.
Oh yeah,
But
especially because
you haven't made it
Yeah, I
there
really
yet.
shot myself in the foot for recording a podcast about the whole thing.
So Linda Kasabian was like the getaway driver, and she ended up being the person who
Got away.
she wasn't sentenced
You know,
because
probably you're a sleuth, man.
she got that. She testified in court against everyone else, but I think in the movie she's portrayed as more sympathetic than she was in real life, or more
got any more comic relief too? Maybe.
yeah, like she was more like, I'm not going to do this, so I'm not going to go in. Linda Kasabian was never supposed to go in; she was just supposed to wait. So this happens the night of August 8th into the morning of August 9th, 1969. And so they were ordered to just kill everyone in the house. Polanski was in Europe, so Tate was at home with this one person that I don't know if I can say his name.
Like pronounce it, or
Yeah.
you don't know if you should
No, it's not.
utter it on the
it's not
podcast. Like it's a
this
bad
is the
word.
name. Frykowski,
Whoa.
but I don't know how to
That
say
is
his
way too
first
many.
name.
He was like also Polish, I think.
Yeah.
Wózek.
Detective
Frykowski.
Darcy.
Okay.
Frykowski.
What?
Wózek Frykowski.
Because it's obviously a Polish name.
Oh, I just remember he was Polish. Sorry.
Looking
So
the
he was
complete
one
other
of-
side of the laptop. It's like, oh yeah, it's Polish.
So he was one of Polanski's friends, and then his girlfriend Abigail Folger, who is the coffee heiress of Folger's Coffee.
Oh,
Wow.
whoa.
Yeah,
oh,
I know,
Ethan's
that's
like,
so
what?
weird.
Coffee?
Yeah, oh yeah, because I love Folgers. Oh, man, I just can't get enough of it.
And Jay Sebring, who also I learned so he was like the hairstylist of the stars. He like revolutionized men's hairstyling and like basically made it exist.
Sick.
I know.
Wow.
So he yeah.
What were guys doing before him?
I think they just weren't really caring about their hair. But he like made all these products and stuff.
Okay, great.
And yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
I was trying to find more about him, but it's hard to find a lot because it's just all about the Manson murders.
Yeah.
Which is, oh, and then Stephen Parent is another victim who is the teenager who is visiting the caretaker.
Mhm.
Who I don't think that's in the movie.
I
don't
I
remember.
think it's just her friend. It was like her friends. I don't think.
Oh yeah. They don't say who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never seen it, but I can confirm it's not in the movie.
So they broke into the house and murdered Tate, Folger, Frykowski, and Sebring with knives and a pistol. And they stabbed everyone multiple times. And then they scrawled the word pig in Tate's blood. Wow. Tate's blood on the door. And yeah. And there was so much blood everywhere that they couldn't even identify who these people were. And the housekeeper found them, and then the caretaker who lived in the back house was being questioned, and he was brought to the yard where two of I think it was Frykowski and Abigail Folger were in the yard, and he identified Abigail Folger as the housekeeper, who was a black woman, and Abigail Folger was a white woman. So he thought that it was the caretaker, but she was covered in so much blood that you didn't know what
yeah.
Whoa.
color skin she had.
Wow.
I know. So it was obviously
Ugh.
very awful. And then the night after that, they went and committed the LaBianca murders, which was they killed a couple in LA. And so it was known as the Tate LaBianca murders because they didn't know
Yeah.
who. Yeah. And that, because it was such a horrific event, is known as the end of this kind of time.
Ugh.
And it's also that once it came out that the Manson family had done it, they realized oh, these hippies that are, kind of preaching this free love,
Yeah.
counterculture thing, they did it. So it kind of was the end of the, I don't know, romanticism, I guess, of hippies.
The end of hippies
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
Darcy's cousins bringing them back.
Yeah, I guess so.
Single-handedly. bring
Well,
it back.
Talking about when they wrote pigs in their blood, I remember, I feel like I'm sourcing my dad a lot in this
Shout out
podcast.
to Dad.
I remember he told me that I think also, I don't know if they also wrote Helter Skelter in their blood
the
in
Oh,
LaBianca.
yeah.
in the LaBianca,
Yeah.
and then the Beatles were getting
Yes.
a lot of backlash because Helter Skelter was a song of theirs,
Right.
and same thing with Piggies.
Mhm.
And then people thought there was an association with the Beatles and the Manson murders.
Well, because the Beatles came out, it was on the White Album.
Yeah.
It came out right before this. And he thought the Beatles were talking to him and
oh
telling him,
yes,
sending him secret messages to kill people.
Did he play his records backwards? And
I
then-
know.
Yeah.
I know.
and then they even made a movie called Helter Skelter, I think.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Charles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Weird.
I know.
so much.
And for a while, it was the two different police departments. And so they refused to believe that like these two murders were connected, even though there was writing and blood on both of them, which is not a normal thing. So
Like one
It's
night
just-
after the other.
yeah,
That's great.
they were like, "There's no way."
So is that it with the murders, or
I forgot one part
Okay.
is that Tate was also 8 months pregnant.
Tate was what?
Tate was also 8 months pregnant, so she also the baby died. So
Oh.
sad.
Mm.
Yeah. So and then Polanski was in Europe. I think I said that. So he was not killed, and the other 4 of them were killed. And I wish I wrote down their names. They were all Sharon Tate was. I said I wish I wrote down their names. Sorry, I'm trying to read and talk. Sharon Tate was 26, and I think the other ones were all around the same age, which is very sad. I think Abigail Folger was like 24 or 25.
Oh.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I didn't realize they were so young.
I know.
This is like a movie trope of casting people way too old for their
Yeah.
actual age.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
And they seem
Hollywood,
old,
baby.
like just because she did so much in her life,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like she was only 26. But
I mean, it's kind of like Margot Robbie though, because Margot Robbie was only like 22 when she filmed The Wolf of Wall Street.
What?
oh,
No.
Yeah, she's
Wow.
32 now, I think, or 33. Oh,
Dang. That's crazy. They look. I don't know. I feel like it's a common thing, like you were saying, of just. We actually watched Turtles All the Way Down last night.
oh,
The John Green's book turned into movie. Really good, but I think that was like one of the few examples that I could see in recent times of them actually casting someone that appeared to be the age that they were supposed to be in
Yeah.
the story. So
yeah,
doesn't happen often.
yeah.
mhm.
So
I do really like Sharon Tate and Margot Robbie though look so similar. Like
Mhm.
it's so that casting was so good.
Yeah.
Mm.
I loved it.
it's weird. They also both look like Barbie.
However, though, Margot Robbie had brown eye contacts.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah, 'cause she has blue eyes.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, I didn't even know.
And Sharon Tate had brown eyes. So they were
Yeah.
definitely details with that.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
We're spot on.
Oh my gosh.
Cool.
The details, I told Ethan, like, we're going to have to do a full different episode of just production design
Oh,
because
yeah.
I was like planning out this episode and I had way too much stuff on production design because
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
But every single detail is so good.
He bought like a ton of classic cars for the movie.
Oh
I'm
my
pretty
gosh.
sure. Yeah.
Because you just
So-
have to fill the freeways
Yeah.
Yeah.
with
I
like
know.
other
It's
cars from
insane.
that
So
era.
many, like, I don't want to say unnecessary, but like somewhat unnecessary driving scenes where it's like
But
you-
so cool.
they're so
Just
good,
feels
but
so
it's
LA.
like
Yeah.
they had to put so much work into
Yeah, I
that.
know.
For
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it didn't need to
For
be
stuff
there,
that
but it
most
was
people
so.
don't
Like you had,
notice.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It was a necessity though.
No, yeah.
It
Yeah.
was.
No, I think even just the
It was homage
right.
to
lots
the
of-
cars.
well, I heard I listened to a small interview with Tarantino, and he kind of just described it as his love letter to Hollywood, and
Mhm.
wanted to make it very not romantic, but kind of just how great it is to. I don't know. I
Mhm.
think he looks back
Very
what-
reminiscent.
Yeah, reminiscent.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read something that was saying it's like very historically accurate, but also like through rose-colored glasses of
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
being reminiscent. So it's still or like nostalgic
Yeah.
Mhm.
and not. It's maybe not 100% historically accurate, but
Sure.
it's supposed to look more nostalgic than
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely.
It's real, I guess, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Well,
Okay, should we get into like the actual movie? I think that's all I have.
so that kind of like sets the stage
Yes.
for what we have going
Mhm.
into the actual story of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a good time for an ad break.
Yeah.
And then we will come back and talk about the movie. Welcome back. So we are talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is Quentin Tarantino's 9th film, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and many others, taking place in Hollywood, California. Many others, like, this is a very star-studded cast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people.
I
in
know.
this.
I was really trying to figure out who to put on that list, and I felt like
They're the main three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a very star-studded cast, but it's a lot of very small roles.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we should talk about casting for a little bit
Sure.
first, because there's just, well, first of all the actresses who are in, well, the main actresses at the ranch in the Manson family are daughters of famous people, which is like super interesting. So Maya Hawke and Margaret Qualley and Dakota Fanning, and I know that there's more, but that's just what I wrote down. Which had some significance, and now I don't really remember.
Sydney
but I think it's
Sweeney's
just,
in it too, right?
is she
Yeah, she's one of the girls.
one of the girls?
I don't know what to say.
Does she have famous parents?
No, she always is like, I'm not a Nepo baby. Sorry.
She's going to listen to this podcast and be so
Sorry.
mad.
Side note, you can edit this out, but I have my opinions on Sydney Sweeney.
Okay.
I feel like I'm very neutral.
Sorry.
I don't know really anything.
Sorry. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. So
So
casting.
yeah. Well, Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt both play like people at the end of their careers, which is super interesting for, I don't know, not that I'm not saying that their careers are ending, but they are getting to like the age where they aren't playing the same characters.
They passed their prime.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. No, honestly, I feel like every time I feel like in my mind, Leonardo DiCaprio is like still like in Titanic, you know?
Yeah.
And then when I see him in real life today, I'm like, what? You do not look like how I thought you looked like.
Yeah. But it was like, it's good though, because, you know, you kind of have to be a seasoned actor to play.
Oh, yeah.
Those.
A seasoned actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
But then they're kind of, it's like.
But isn't he like kind of insecure about his ability in Hollywood?
Yeah, I think I remember he was based off of, I forget his name.
Yeah, well, you look it up, but I think it was funny because part of the interview that I listened to was somebody was like, how does it feel to play an actor who is like insecure about his ability to act as yourself?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that doesn't fit with who you are as a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I thought there were certain things that were funny.
Yeah, I think he's based off of Burt Reynolds, who was in Smokey and the Bandit. He was like a pretty great actor for a period of time, but then he kind of fell off.
Yeah.
Like he ended up being bankrupt and had to
my goodness.
sell like parts, because like Smokey and the Bandit was like pretty big, and he had to sell, I think, like the iconic, I forget what kind of car it was, but like the car, because he was so bankrupt. I think I'm pretty sure that he was based off of that actor.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any notes on casting? I don't really. I just wanted, like, I feel like it's just a good.
What were you so excited about?
Yeah, you're.
I was talking to Matt about this when we were watching it. I feel like even though Brad Pitt won the best supporting actor, I feel like you see more of Brad Pitt than you do of Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie. Like you see him more in action, and you know him more than you do Leonardo DiCaprio. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I always like think about the prime example of this is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh yeah.
Where the story's more about Cameron than it is about Ferris Bueller. Yeah, but this one's a toss up. Brad Pitt's character is very interesting in this movie.
Yeah.
Should we just start at the beginning?
Sure.
And just go over.
Yeah. The one part where I can contribute.
Yeah. Here you go. What are your thoughts on what you watched?
I was actually surprised about how funny it was.
Yeah.
I was like actually cracking up a few times. But also loved that like Western intro sequence of the what's the TV
Bounty
show?
Law.
Yeah, Bounty Law. That's just I feel like they went like dramatically over the top in recreating a Western in a funny way. That like it's kind of obvious that they're like satirizing it a bit, but it's still like looked at a little seriously in the movie.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
And I think to be fair, I feel like that's kind of how Westerns were.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Like some Westerns are, it's like what's like martial arts movies, like
Oh,
how like
yeah.
they're just like flying all of a sudden, and you're like, you can't jump that much.
Yeah.
But it's just that's how it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that and the again the Hollywood setting.
Mhm.
I think two of my favorite parts. It was just
I
like
know.
really cool to see.
I
all
know.
of
I
this.
think this is like becoming one of my favorite movies, if only because of just vintage California.
Mhm.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, that's everything that I have to contribute.
Did you see him use the flamethrower on the Nazis?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I think that was one of the parts that I was dying laughing at.
Everybody order fried sauerkraut!
And then he was like, I had to practice this for like 3 weeks every day.
Yeah.
And then he was like, man, this flamethrower is really hot. Can we do anything about that? And the other guy's like, it's a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Just wait until we talk about how that's a setup and it pays off at the end.
No. Oh my God.
You want to spoil
No, it's okay. It's
No.
okay. You can spoil it
Spoiling
for me.
anything
Yeah. Yeah, we should just put a spoiler alert at the beginning of this. I feel like we're
I
just
think
gonna.
every episode,
Yeah.
assume there's spoilers.
I know.
Save yourself the grief. All right.
Okay. So I guess the beginning is just we learn that his show has ended
Mhm.
and he's now trying to figure out how to like continue his career and is considering whether or not to go to Italy to star in spaghetti westerns.
Mhm.
I think star, maybe just be on them.
I think he.
Yeah,
I think he would
star
have his
of
own
being a
show.
star of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But very reluctant to, like, he's not very excited.
No, he
about
doesn't want
spaghetti
to.
Westerns.
No.
Mhm.
Because
Which I
they're-
didn't know that was a term, spaghetti
Yeah.
westerns, and I love it.
I know, it's so good.
Because a lot of people, I think, just didn't want to be a sellout back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of a sellout move,
Mhm.
but you kind of have to do it in order to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
It was crazy how big they were. And I guess it was
Mhm.
like not anticipated in that time. Like you think of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly
Mhm.
and all the Sergio Leone movies. Yeah.
yeah. And like, what is it? I remember they were talking about how in the spaghetti westerns, like how, you've talked about it, how Italian directors, what do? They like don't care what language you
They
speak.
bring in a bunch of actors and none of them speak the same language. And they have them, they record the video with everybody speaking their own language. So
Oh,
you really
what?
don't
Yeah.
know
I
what
think
the
I've
person
heard
you're
of
talking
this,
to is
yeah.
saying.
Because we were watching, for some reason I was like, oh, I remember my dad and I used to watch Jesus of Nazareth, and this is like this old 70s. I don't know if it was like a TV series or if it was
Mhm.
just like a really long movie, but they were like,
I could instantly tell it was
What
an
is-
Italian
what is it called?
director.
Like when you're talking-
Everything is dubbed.
It's dubbed,
yeah,
yeah.
it's dubbed. It's
Yes,
dubbed,
everything is
and they were
dubbed.
talking about in the spaghetti westerns in the
Mhm.
movie, like, oh, and these Italian directors are, they, how they just let anybody who speaks whatever language and
Yeah,
doesn't.
Leo like complains about
Yeah,
it.
they briefly complain about it in the movie, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what happens next? I think you can educate me and everybody else listening in the like whole sense of the movie, and I think we can just stop when it's interesting.
Okay. Okay, well, I think what I like is knowing like the history of the Manson murders, and then one of the first scenes after that, he's talking to what's his face about what the producer
Schwartz. or
Al
Schwarz.
Pacino.
Schwartz.
Al Pacino.
Not
Yeah, I was like, I know
Yeah.
it's someone famous.
That's
Yeah.
another stacked cast member.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pacino.
for like what, like
2 seconds.
5
Yeah.
lines,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But you can do that when you're Tarantino, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then you like find out that he lives on Cielo Drive, which is cool and scary. And you're
Mhm.
like, ooh, what's gonna happen? And I also like I didn't know if he was gonna get murdered because I was like, is
Mm.
he the one living in the house? And that's like
It was
what's
crazy
different?
foreshadowing, especially seeing this in the theater, having no idea what was going to happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
I also like I think they know like they're assuming that what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
the
so there's
movie's
a lot of
alluding to
scenes.
it,
yeah.
yeah.
And there's a lot of scenes where the camera will go really high up and then you'll see a car going up the
Mhm.
hill.
Mhm.
And then every single time I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, this is when they're going to die. And it doesn't happen. It just like, but there's like 3 times I think that a car comes.
Yeah.
And
And you're like, is this it? Is this it?
Yeah.
But it's just like building the itch that
Yeah.
needs to be scratched.
And it's just,
Yes.
it's just a car. Like,
Yeah.
they don't explain why there's a car.
That's funny.
I don't remember what happens after that. Does anyone, if someone else can take it.
I remember
if we
the
have-
first like 80% of the movie being montage style.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Where it's not like a super clear line narrative. There's a lot
Yeah.
of flashbacks.
Yeah.
Okay,
Whether-
the
yeah.
first time I watched it, I didn't realize they were flashbacks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just thought it was like jumping all over the place.
Well, the
And-
movie like takes place as a day in the life, right? Like it's kind of one day with a lot
Well,
of flashbacks.
The ending, I would say, is
Yeah. The first like 80% is
Mhm.
like a very short time frame.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it skips
To the-
a couple months.
there's like a few
Yeah.
times where it has like a timestamp kind of thing
Right.
at the
Yes.
bottom.
Mm,
And so I think there's maybe like 3 days.
yeah.
I don't want to.
Do
that-
it.
No, we can spoil.
Well, no, I'm saying like you have like the movie is literally meant like you have to watch the movie to watch the ending.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
This is perfect.
There's
movie
no-
for me not to have time. To
I mean, the way that it's organized, like the climax
Mm-hmm.
is so. It's like at the
Climactic.
way end.
Oh, yeah.
oh, okay.
It takes so long to get there.
It takes
Oh.
yes.
I was like starting to like
You're wondering
I
like where is this
yes.
Yeah.
Like,
going?
where is
What's
this
gonna
going?
happen?
Like, is
Yeah.
there anything gonna happen? Like, and then
and then
And
it
then
all
it
happens.
happens.
It definitely happens.
Educate me. What's that like ending part? Like what? How does it? What is the climaxing like lead
Do we
up
just
to?
want to
Well,
rip off the band?
okay.
Yeah, I think we just have
Okay,
to.
So-
this
Yeah.
is. I guess this is the part, everybody, where we're gonna get into that one thing.
this is the ending is when it gets all time stampy.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it tells you like the
Oh, yeah, the
specific
minute, down to the
minute.
times
Oh, whoa.
and like location.
Because the minute is important for what
Yes.
actually happened versus
Yes.
what's
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Well,
yeah, just explain the end.
we'll go back to we'll continue the narrative, I assume, but there's a couple things you need to know. In the middle of the movie, Brad Pitt goes to the Spawn Ranch
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
and he sees all the hippie
Oh,
girls.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the hippie girls remember Brad Pitt's character.
Right.
Mhm.
At some point, he buys an LSD cigarette from
Sick.
one of the
Didn't know those existed.
girls
It's a
on the
cigarette
ranch.
dipped in.
Oh, yes.
Just
Yeah.
dipped in
Dipped in
LSD. Yeah.
LSD.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
entirely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does she give it to him or does
I
he
think
buy
he
it?
was.
He buys it for like $1 or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then at the end of the movie, they are at Leo's house. Sorry, I referred to
Yeah,
the
that's fine.
characters
That's fair.
by their actor's name. And Leo is hanging out at the pool.
Which is like so iconic. Like he
Yeah.
has this. We actually have. I don't know if we still have it, but the chair thing that he's sitting in.
Yes.
We used to have it at Palm Springs.
Oh no
Oh,
way.
Yeah,
really?
and it was like they don't sell it anymore. Like it's like from like the 60s.
What?
Like I tried because ours was breaking, but it's literally a lounge chair that floats in the pool.
Sick.
And so I would use it, like I would read all the time in it, and it was
That's
breaking, and I was like, I have to get one of these,
Oh
Yes.
man.
a new one, and you can't buy them anywhere.
Yeah,
But
because the pool that we
he
have
would
in our
just go in
backyard.
there.
That's really
No,
nice.
I was thinking like I'd bring it to like the lake or something. I don't
Oh
know.
sure.
Well,
But no, I was just gonna say that he just sits in it
yeah.
and like
They're-
does
they're
his
hammered.
lines.
They're very drunk.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
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 Well, the reason why is so Leo or Rick Dalton decides to go with the spaghetti westerns, and he's actually very successful. And then, I don't actually know if he was that successful because then he realized that he couldn't have Brad Pitt.
Mhm.
Oh, wait, am I allowed to say this?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, he can't afford Brad Pitt anymore
Hmm.
as his like stunt double man
Mhm.
or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Driver.
And
Yeah.
so he said that in Italy, and then they flew back to LA, and they both knew, okay, this is going to be our last night with the boys.
Yeah.
And so then flashing back to with the LSD
Mhm.
dipped cigarette because Brad Pitt got it, and he's like, I'm not going to do it tonight, but he left it in Rick Dalton's like cigarette box for
Yeah.
another time.
Sure.
And
Save it for a
so
rainy day.
yes. And so like this was their last night together. And also have you seen Brad Pitt's dog in the movie?
Yes.
Oh,
That
It's
is,
I know.
what's the dog's name again? It was a really good name.
I'll spill it.
But he has a pit bull.
Yeah.
And I mean, pit bulls are pretty bad.
Bad dogs.
Bad dogs.
Yep. That's what they
Um,
called me in high school.
and he wanted to pick up his dog because he knew that he was going to have an all-nighter. So he brought his dog over to Leo's house.
Smart.
And so then...
Did the dog get high on LSD?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what this was
So...
it's funny. Brad Pitt like opens up the cigarette box and he's like, "I remember you."
going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so he... I don't know how... It's all like...
He smokes the cigarette.
Yes,
Yeah.
he smokes the...
And,
Yes.
yeah, I just want to say the trip scene is awesome in this movie. I mean, you have a spectrum from this movie to like A Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where literally the audience sees like the floor melting and people are velociraptors.
Right.
And visually it's showing you everything
Mhm.
versus this movie, you're just looking at Brad Pitt like waving his hand back and forth and giggling. And
Yeah.
I think it's like, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So watching it rather than the first person perspective of being high,
Yeah.
you're just watching Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And
I like that.
It is
for
funny.
some reason, well, he just took the dog for a walk.
Mhm.
And Leo was in the pool with his special
Special
his
chair.
lounge
Yeah.
chair floaty
Which
thing.
also, when he's like listening, I don't know if he's listening to his lines during that time, but he like wears headphones. So
Mhm.
yes.
he's just like in his own little world
Got it.
out there.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
completely soundproof.
Yeah.
So he can't really
It's like high tech headphones
Yeah.
for that time.
Hear much.
Sick.
and so that's when pretty much it all changes from there. But to go back a little bit to the Spawn Ranch
Mhm.
part, so she's the hippie girl that lures Brad Pitt to drop her off at Spawn Ranch where they're all at.
Okay.
And they're like, "Oh, Charlie's gonna dig you, Charlie." They're like, and there's just like it's all girls there. You don't
Yeah.
see, you only see two guys, and one of them
Tex,
is Tex,
Yeah.
and then one is some
Austin Butler.
Yeah.
random guy. And because Brad Pitt was like, "Oh, Spawn Ranch, that's where Rick Dalton
Mhm.
used to
Don't yeah.
film here," and he was wanting to talk to
George? Spawn?
George.
Yes.
And they were not letting him talk to
Mhm.
George, so then they didn't like his vibe
Mhm.
anymore, and they were like, "Get Tex, to come down here and handle the situation and
Mhm.
everything," because like Brad Pitt was the only man there,
Mm.
and so they ended up basically stabbing a like blade in Brad Pitt's, well, not actually Brad Pitt's car, it was Leo's car that he
Yeah.
was borrowing for the day.
Oh, okay.
And this part was pretty funny where, because it was this hippie guy who was
Mhm.
like, ha, ha, ha. Like, I did this to your car. And he's like, Brad Pitt's like, "Now, this is not my car. This is my boss's car." And he opens the trunk and he like throws the tire at the guy and
Mhm.
he's like, "And you're going to fix it." And the guy was like refusing to. And then like Brad Pitt like was just
Yeah,
like,
punches.
Yeah. Oh,
punching
yeah.
And all
him.
the girls are like, "He's just a flower."
yeah. Yeah. And then he like threw on the car and his like blood is all over the car because he punched him like so many
Nice.
times and he fixed the car.
Tarantino.
Yeah, but then we go back to where they're at the house
Mhm.
together having their final night. And I
Yeah,
feel like I've
sorry.
been talking
I don't want
too
to get
long.
too synoptic. I know that we're trying to do more of an analysis.
Sorry.
here.
Yes.
Um,
Sorry.
To be quick, basically, the hippies go to Rick Dalton's
Mhm.
house.
Yeah.
And Cliff Booth is there. Instead of Sharon Tate's
Mhm.
house.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
they're going to Sharon Tate's house, and his house or her house is right past his house. So you kind of stop. Well, to the right is his house, and then if you keep going, there's a gate to get to her house. And he's making margaritas, I think.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
And this is when Cliff is out walking the dog. So
Yeah.
Rick is in there making margaritas and then is annoyed because the hippies are out there being loud.
Sure.
So he like runs
Car
out with
is
his
loud.
pitcher
Yeah,
of
he's got the blender.
the blender of margarita and is like,
And he's in a robe.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, get out of here. You're being loud. It's like 2 a.m. Well, it's
Yeah.
probably not that late yet, but he's annoyed at them. So then they're like, oh no, someone saw us. But then one of the girls is like, do you know who that was? Like, that's,
the guy from
well,
Bounty Law.
yeah, the guy
Yeah.
from Bounty Law.
Yeah.
And then they decide that because of Bounty Law and
Oh,
movies
yeah.
and TV
Yes.
shows like that, that's why they were raised to want to kill
Yes.
people because it was like normalized. So then they're like, we have to kill the Hollywood guy who like
Yeah.
Yes.
encompasses this idea.
Interesting.
So they switch their
Yeah.
focus.
Because he taught them how to kill.
Yeah. So now they have to kill him
Oh.
instead
Yeah.
of doing what Charles Manson said.
Yeah.
So then they
Wow.
come back and they decide to try to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you on the edge of your seat, Ethan?
Yes. Quite.
Quite literally.
And then guess what happens?
Does someone die? Do they kill the dog?
They kill the hippies.
No.
Yeah.
So, which I thought was so cool because it's like not only does he kind of move the narrative away from Sharon Tate
Mhm.
and like they're trying to kill someone else, but then he has the Manson family die, which means
Yeah.
that then the LaBianca murders don't happen.
Yes.
So, like,
What?
the whole end
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
era doesn't happen,
That's-
essentially.
That Matt and I were talking about how in Inglourious Bastards and then this movie, like Quentin Tarantino kind of gives you the happy ending
Yeah.
that you kind of wished happened historically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in Inglourious
Interesting.
Bastards,
Spoilers.
sorry, spoilers, like the Nazis all
Mhm.
end up dying.
Mhm.
yeah.
And
And they shoot Hitler.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
sick.
they all die.
Yeah.
And then with
Which, for the record, that guy sucks. So I'm glad that happened.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
Like,
the way it
that's what
should have
you-
gone.
yeah, you wanted like instead of obviously how Hitler died, you
Mhm.
wished. Sorry, actually, you don't want to.
Okay.
Sorry. That sounds really. sorry.
He's giving justice.
Never mind. Justice. Yes.
Tarantino
Yeah.
is
He's doing
Yeah.
providing the
his
justice on screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cinematic justice.
Yeah, there you go.
And then with like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Mhm.
like this is like the ending.
Yeah.
That you
That we wanted.
You wanted.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really
And guess
cool.
how he kills the last one?
Oh.
Tell me how.
Oh.
How do you think?
What
Rick
was the
Dalton?
setup?
Okay. Rick Dalton
with
is
the
in the
flamethrower?
Yes.
No way.
Oh, you just,
Yeah.
yeah. I
It's-
feel like us describing it though just
No,
does
you
not
have
do
to
it
watch
This
justice.
is why I'm fine with spoilers because
Yeah.
it makes me excited to go watch it and figure
Yeah.
it out
Love it,
it's
dude.
because
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think I could like do the whole
It's
scene
just
justice
so
Yeah.
in my head.
like there's one line that's like my favorite that Brad Pitt says, and it's just like the way he says it. It's so
oh, fantastic!
it's just so funny. Like
Nice.
you can't.
Are
It's
you
so
gonna
good.
say it?
No, I'm gonna keep it
Oh,
for
okay.
it's
Okay.
We can put it in post so then the listeners
I don't
can
want to.
hear it
I don't
if-
want to ruin it by doing it my impression
Yeah.
first, and then
Okay.
like completely ruin it for Ethan. So
You are.
I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business.
No, I was dumber than that. Something like Rex.
Tex?
Tex.
There's so much payoff in like the last
Yeah.
yes, that's why
15
it's
minutes.
Yeah.
And you don't realize
It's so
how many
good.
things are being
Yeah.
set up throughout the movie. Like, did you see Brad Pitt feeding his dog?
yeah.
Brad Pitt is feeding his dog when the hippies break in.
Oh,
And
interesting.
the can of dog food
yes.
is like
That's a
What?
player in
weapon.
it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which can we talk about how that dog food is rat flavored?
Oh,
What is
rat
up with
flavor?
that?
What?
Yeah. I don't know,
didn't
is that a
even
normal
look
thing?
at that?
Was that like
One
on
of
the
the-
label
yeah.
of the dog food?
Yeah.
What?
might have been
I
a
know.
60s thing.
I
don't
know.
Yeah. Or I thought it was horse.
That's crazy.
There's two.
Oh.
One of them is
Yeah.
rat. I don't know what the other maybe the other one's horse.
Weird.
Yeah.
Because he
Ugh.
pours two into the he feeds his dog so much.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Because well, he did the first can,
Mhm.
and then because he gave the dog 2 cans,
Mhm.
and he didn't open the second can yet,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and that second
Yeah.
can.
that's the weapon.
Second
That's
can is
the weapon
important.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
The
Interesting.
movie shows his dog is like well trained. Like
Okay.
you heard him be
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
when
And then
tell
that's
his
when he
dog-
can eat it.
So
I want to find
he also there was some
Oh.
signal he did to get his dog to attack the hippies.
Whoa, sweet.
Yeah.
Oh man, we should train our cats to do that.
I know. I actually read an article about a cat that saved this lady from like a home invasion because this
Oh
guy was
my
trying to get
gosh.
through the window and the cat was there at the window and was like
Right.
swatting at him.
Just
And
like-
then, yeah. And when like the police showed up, they had to call an ambulance for the guy
No
because he
way.
was like so cut up.
Sick. Cats are dope.
Then the name of the dog.
the dog's name is Brandy.
Oh, good dog name. I
What
like
are you
it.
looking at here? The dog is.
I
on
looked up. Oh, apparently
the Hollywood
the
Star?
the dog is on Quentin Tarantino's The Hollywood Star.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
on-
it. That's cute.
so
I think
cute.
I saw it won like a was it
Best Dog Award.
Best dog.
best canine performance.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cute.
But
Nice.
it was played by 3 dogs, I think.
Oh.
So I don't know how you
yeah.
give that out. But
Huh. It's like the Olsen twins.
Well, I think one thing that I didn't bring up is also the origin of that one meme where Leo's on his
Oh,
sofa chair and he goes,
yes.
shh, shh, "That's me."
Yep.
wait,
I
I
can't do his
literally have
little whistling.
no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah,
The-
well, you're not on.
Like that's the
Like-
title of the movie meme where it's Leonardo DiCaprio like pointing.
He's like lounging
And
on
he's
the
like,
chair,
I don't know.
and then he gets really
I don't
excited,
know.
and then he pops up and he whistles. He goes, "That's me," and then there I am, or something like that. He'll pull it up.
Oh, I barely remember this.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
think
know
if
the
you-
meme,
if you
but
didn't
I-
know where it was. I
Yeah.
haven't even seen that part of the actual movie.
Yeah, you just know that
I
it's
just
from
know
this.
that it's from this.
Is he
Yeah.
pointing? Does that actually? He actually says that's me in the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it says "There I am" or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, anyways, that's
You know
my
what I
only other
liked?
contribution.
that reminds me of. Is that the scene where they're like he's just watching TV with Cliff,
Yeah.
and then it goes to like then at Spawn Ranch they're also watching the same show. I think it's Bounty Law, or maybe it's the
Oh, it was
the new show that he was.
It was
He had a
called
cameo
like
in the show.
Yeah,
Law and Order. No, not Law and Order.
Special Victims
Crime
Unit?
and Punishment. Oh, what's
Well,
it
it
called?
was like.
was like a-
yeah, it's the one where he's the bad
FBI
guy.
It was like an FBI show.
I think it was
Oh.
called. Was it called
FBI,
FBI?
like special cases or something. I don't remember. But
Yeah, it
This
was,
isn't the one that he was acting in when he.
No,
for-
this
oh.
was just the one where he had the cameo where he like kills the guy in the truck, and then
Wait, I literally don't remember this.
it was a very
That's-
small.
okay.
Yeah.
Isn't there another time when they're all watching Bounty Law though, and it kind of jumps around to like different people watching it?
I think so. It shows Schwartz watching
Mhm.
it. I don't remember any other points though.
Okay, maybe this didn't happen. Maybe I'm making this up. We'll cut that out.
Cut that. It didn't matter.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's okay. Well, I think a lot of this will kind of revisit in more detail in the episode where we talk more about the PD,
Mhm.
right?
Right,
Okay.
but
I mean,
you're
continue.
you're rushing us. I took up a
It's
lot of time
our
at the beginning part,
artistic
and I feel like
process.
That's true. Okay. Sorry to.
Sorry, I'm
there are.
Gotta let you be artistic and make your piece.
Well, one thing that I thought was cool was when they were showing like I like remember the exact song and like them in the car. They were playing "Hush" by
Mhm.
Deep Purple. It was Margot
Which also
Robbie, or
the-
sorry, not Margot Robbie, Sharon Tate, and Ron
Mhm.
Polanski were like they were on their way driving to like that
Yes.
party.
Yeah.
That song playing, and then she's meeting up with Mama Cass,
Mhm.
who's in the Mamas and the Papas, and then I forget the other member in Mamas and the Papas.
Yeah.
I forget her name, and I think that was kind of like a little representation of like Laurel Canyon because that was like
yeah.
another neighborhood where like a bunch of artists just
Mhm.
like would hang out all the time,
Yeah.
creating music. Like that was like another like part of LA
Mhm.
that was just like the music industry.
Mhm.
And I went to say with the Mamas and the Papas
Mhm.
how they were doing the timestamps
Mhm.
at the end, like at 12 a.m.
Yeah.
This part. And right before, like right when they're around the time where it's the killing of the hippies,
Mhm.
the song 12:30
Mhm.
by the Mamas and the Papas starts
Oh,
playing,
whoa.
and
What
it's
the heck?
around 12:30
Oh, yeah.
that this is all happening.
Crazy.
Oh,
And
so
I
good.
thought that was, I was like thinking
Mind-blowing.
about that, and I was like, wait, they did that on purpose.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Like, because it was like 12, and then, because then after like it all happened and Leo was talking to the cops, like, yeah, like it happened around like 12 a.m. like that this all happened, and it was like 12:30. And so I thought that was a cool
So good.
like
Yeah.
That's neat.
connection.
Yeah.
Little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is so good.
Yeah.
That also reminds me, I want to talk about like there's a few other random famous people that like the Mamas and the Papas, and like Steve McQueen is there for like 1 second. Like there's just so many. I mean, I'm sure everyone at that party also was like based off of a famous person that I didn't even catch. But then you have like the Bruce Lee scene.
Oh,
with,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Cliff Booth basically like tries to beat up Bruce Lee because I don't even remember why.
Bruce Lee said that he would knock out Muhammad Ali in the first round. And the Lee family was not happy with this movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, they were pretty upset with the portrayal of Bruce Lee.
Interesting.
But
I didn't know. I think like at the beginning I was like, oh, this is a character based on Bruce Lee.
yeah.
And then the longer the scene went on, I was like, oh no, this is Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Like I thought they changed the name and it was
Sure.
just like someone else. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely doesn't say like, "Oh, hey Bruce
Yeah.
Lee, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I read that Bruce Lee's wife, I don't know the details, but in a book,
Mhm.
someone said that Bruce Lee could beat Muhammad Ali in a fight.
Oh.
And that's where Tarantino took that and ascribed it to him bragging to everybody
Yeah.
that he's
Yeah.
the best fighter in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Some people might say it's pretty accurate. Yeah.
But what I thought was also interesting is there's so much like obviously it's all about the Tate murders, but then there's a lot of other nods towards other like
Yeah.
mysterious deaths and stuff, like or famous people deaths. So Bruce Lee died mysteriously.
His
Or-
son did too. I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, on the
Yeah,
set of
there's like
The
a-
Crow or something.
Mhm.
A curse
Yeah.
is what they say. And then also Cliff Booth was married to someone named Natalie, which they don't obviously say a last name, but most likely Natalie Wood. Well, no, not most likely. Definitely Natalie Wood,
Mm.
because Natalie Wood's husband probably killed her. That's a story for another time. But
Huh.
they were on their boat and
I'm
she
not familiar with this.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Okay, so they were on a boat in the middle of her filming some movie. They were on a boat by like Catalina Island, and she drowned, and they found her body like a couple days later. And I don't know too much about it other than that she drowned. He says she drowned, but
Yeah.
it's very, very likely that he killed her.
Huh.
On the
Was
boat
he also a
because-
stunt double?
No.
Oh.
I know, which is
Yeah.
why
That'd
I
be
was
really
for a
cool.
second I was like, maybe it's not based off of her, but it is because it's like,
The name.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
her name is Natalie. They're on a boat in the flashback, and then it says like nobody likes Cliff Booth because he killed his wife, but
Yeah.
but then other people believe he didn't kill his wife and he wasn't ever charged with it. So
It sounds
It's-
like everybody like knows that he did.
Yeah.
And the movie,
But
I,
Rick
I
Dalton-
did not know that was a real event.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty comical in the movie.
I
the
know.
way it's set up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just like his wife complaining on a boat, and you just
Yeah.
see Brad Pitt just like holding a spear gun.
Yep.
I
And that's
know.
it. That's all you get.
It's- so I would say not an accurate description
Yeah.
of who Natalie Wood was and how that happened, probably. Because she wasn't shot with anything. But I think it was like blunt force trauma or something. So,
Wow.
you know, not your average drowning. Yeah. But Rick Dalton doesn't think that he killed his wife.
Or he's like ignorant.
Yeah,
to
he
it,
doesn't
like,
care.
Trying to convince himself that he didn't.
Yeah.
It's
out
like
of some
bro.
loyalty.
It's bro loyalty. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he did that, but you know what? Like, it's fine.
Haven't
Rick,
we
Can't really
all?
blame him.
Yeah, it's fine.
I mean, think about if you were in his shoes. Like, it's
What would you do?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Rick Dalton's character, he's reliant on
Mhm.
Cliff Booth
Mhm.
because he got so many DUIs that he can't drive.
Hmm.
So I think he kind of needs him around.
Yeah.
convinces himself that he didn't kill his wife. So
Which
he is a driver.
is the part in the movie where they say that he says like, oh, my car's in the shop or something, so I can't drive. And then the narrator, who I think is Tarantino,
I think it's Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell?
It's Kurt Russell.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't
didn't
know.
who it was.
I think I read that it was Tarantino, so I just yelled that at you when you asked, and then
Yeah,
I looked it up.
I was
at
like in
some
the other
point.
room.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
it's the guy that his wife doesn't like.
The
Booth.
director. He was like, he killed his wife. That's
Oh.
Kurt
Kurt
Russell
Russell.
Yeah.
too. And then
Mhm.
I think we looked it up.
Yeah.
interesting.
Got it.
I don't know.
Well, I thought that was one of the funniest
Yeah.
little jokes because does the narrator come back in other parts of the movie?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he was just like, well, that was an effing lie. Like the reason he can't drive is because he got too many DUIs. It's just like him crying in the back of a cop car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just like this is not, Matt teases me that I don't like this part of the movie. I don't know. I think the timing, I think they're trying to like show vulnerability with Rick Dalton and
Mhm.
how he is at this point where he's like having like an emotional breakdown on that
Oh
set.
yes.
And
I like that scene when he's just in the trailer.
yeah,
Or-
well, I felt like it was kind of like a blur to me with like what was going on at some points, but I mean, I feel like that was, even though I didn't like it, I felt like it was important.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
excellent character development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Rick. Who's the girl supposed to be?
Oh, they were,
The little girl.
yeah, they said like she was supposed to represent like Jodie Foster, like how she was like
Oh.
a young child actor who
Yeah.
like took herself very seriously.
Yeah.
That's what I read, but I don't really know if
That
that's
makes sense.
accurate. Could have been anybody.
It could just be like a representation of like
Yeah, of
the
child.
The next
The next
generation.
generation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like he's like, you like little let little Pepper plays her fiddle. I like that line where he's you know what I'm talking about? Little
Little pepper.
little pepper,
little
little
pepper.
chili pepper in her play her fiddle.
Yeah.
Or something like that. That part I liked.
The scene when he's in the trailer, like yelling at himself.
Yeah.
I love how he's like, "You're never gonna drink again," and then he immediately like takes out his flask, and then
Yeah.
he's like, "Okay, now," or like I don't know. It's so
Yeah, he
funny.
drinks out of it
And
and
he's
then
like-
throws it across
Yeah.
the room. Yeah.
It was cute that he was like, you're gonna show that little girl and everybody else. Like, yeah. That part was cute.
And then he does it, and then the little girl,
She's like, that was the
Yeah.
best acting I've ever seen.
so good.
I actually
So
remember
cute.
that scene because
Yeah.
I watched part of the movie
Yeah,
with you.
when I was
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
watching it, and then he walked in, and
Covered
Yeah.
in water.
This was like a month ago.
Oh,
this, was,
okay.
Yeah.
this was before.
Never
Oh,
mind.
okay.
Like when I texted you guys that I wanted to do this episode, I first watched it,
Yeah.
and he didn't watch it with me.
That was
And here we
probably
are.
something important.
Yeah, it was too long of a
Saving the
movie.
house
That's
from
why.
Yeah.
You were
We watched
not-
it in 2 days.
Yeah.
Yes.
The last time we watched it.
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I was telling Ethan, like, I want him to watch almost all of it, and then I just want to watch the end with him because
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just want to like get the
could
exciting stuff.
Yeah, once you Marina's going to the movies today.
Hmm.
What are you watching?
Going to see The Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy.
I'm so excited.
Oh,
Relevant to this. The whole
I know
stunt-
the stunt guy.
stuntman.
Yeah,
yeah.
I know.
Oh, we got to do a
An episode on
stunt
stunt. Yeah,
people episode.
I know. Stunt people. Yeah, women
fun.
are stuntmen too.
Oh, I wasn't even trying to
Oh.
be all PC. That's fun. Wow, look at me. I was more saying like stunt, just more broad, multiple stunt.
Oh, people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not just one stunt man.
Yeah.
Oh, well, happy accident.
Okay, so we talked about the little girl being like the next generation, but
Yeah.
also Sharon Tate, also the next gen, or like
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
next generation because she's like rising star,
What could have
which yeah,
been.
which
Yeah.
yeah, like she goes and watches her movie in the. I love that scene when she's
Yeah.
watching her movie in the movie theater and she's like doing her little choreography, like
Yeah,
along with herself.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I was brought up that scene
Oh my gosh.
because of
For everybody at home, Matt just put his foot on the table and pointed at it.
I was trying to set you up for this.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
But we just, yeah.
It's another Tarantino trope. He's a weird guy. I'm pretty sure in all of his movies there have been barefoot actresses and close-ups on it.
Okay.
But with this one in particular, yeah, there's a lot of like dirty hippie feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, gross.
I'm not gonna make any, I don't know, suggestions on why he's doing that.
Well,
but it is weird.
I heard that people made fun of him for it in his other movies, and then
Oh, and he's leaning
and
in.
then, and then he was like, "Oh, you think I like feet? Here they are."
Oh, that's
because
funny.
there's
I know.
a lot
That's
like
hilarious.
a lot of like they do not need the feet.
That's
Yeah.
what
In
makes it
this, like,
fun,
yeah.
Jan.
It's the feet.
Maybe don't bring your kids next time. That's awesome. But I did notice
Yeah.
that in the one of the
Even
scenes
in
that I
your
saw. Yeah.
very short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's some feet.
Yeah.
weird.
I know everyone puts their feet up and then it's like from straight on. So their feet are just like
Yeah.
front and center.
Which I could also see a world where Tarantino's like, yeah, you think I like feet? Yeah, who would do that?
Right.
This is
Yeah.
just me being funny,
Yeah.
guys. And,
I mean, if we've learned anything from Quiet on Set.
oh
know.
man,
Yeah.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. You haven't watched it?
No,
right,
I
Lily?
just know about,
I just know about it.
Yeah.
feet.
My my
Dan
boss
Schneider,
walked
yeah.
into the office right after the day after he watched it, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then he's like, "My life is over. I can't go on." And I was like, "Oh, what in the world happened to you?" And he's like, "I watched Quiet on Set." And I was like, "Oh, jeez,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
it's
you guys
pretty
have a-
morbid.
yeah."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morbid? They killed somebody?
Oh, sorry, not like that.
Just
uh,
sad.
dark.
It's a
intense,
downer.
dark.
I see.
Sorry.
You know, remember that murder scene?
Well, there was that. No, just
Almost.
kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry. You can edit that part out.
All right,
I
note
don't
to
know.
self. Edit this out.
Thank you.
Kidding, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Mm-hmm.
When I was looking at the Wikipedia page for this movie,
Mhm.
I read there was a book. I think
Oh.
it's the first
Oh,
book
I-
Tarantino
yeah.
wrote. And it's pretty much, I think I don't know when it starts, but I know that the events after
Mm-hmm.
the end of the movie
Oh.
happen. And he's like,
Yes.
Rick Dalton is like a regular on a late night show
Oh my
or something
gosh.
like that. Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting detail.
Yeah. I want to talk about like the end
Mhm.
because to me, I feel like it's like he meets Polanski and he's going to like
Mhm.
go on and
Yeah.
be an actor. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that happened, but I know that there is a lot of like Tarantino has his whole life like figured out and he died in like 2019 or something. And they like had an obituary
Mhm.
for him, but I don't see anything that seems like he went on to star in like a movie. So maybe it wasn't as hopeful as I thought it was going to be at the end.
Mm. I thought
But
I liked the ending, how it didn't show
Mhm.
Sharon Tate.
Oh, yeah.
It just felt like respectful, like
Oh,
this
yeah.
technically would be
Oh,
after.
Because she only
Yeah.
talks through the.
She only talks through the thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then there's like an overhead shot
Mm-hmm.
of Rick Dalton walking up to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminded me a lot of Taxi Driver. If anybody's seen that, the ending
No.
sequence is like
I always get that mixed up with Baby Driver.
Me too.
Oh my
For a
gosh.
second, I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen that.
I think
Yeah.
those are different movies.
We
They're
also like
definitely different.
Scorsese movies, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, okay. Anyways,
you seen it,
educate
though?
me.
the
About-
ending
Okay.
of that
You-
movie, it's just like, again, there's a sequence, a climactic sequence, and then afterwards it just doesn't feel real. Like
Mm.
it feels dreamlike. And
Yeah.
to portray that, it's like the camera goes up and you see it from the
Mhm.
events from like an aerial view.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which really makes sense for like changing history. And it's like,
Right.
yeah.
Kind of like playing God
Mhm.
and then taking that like perspective of
Mm,
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I was thinking more just like, this isn't real. So we're going to,
Out of body
yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
But
watching-
I guess
yeah.
playing
Yeah.
God also.
Yeah.
Which is super interesting.
Well, I think that'll be it for this episode. We will look forward to much more conversation specifically around the topic of production design.
Yeah.
Moving forward in another episode. But for now, we are logging off and just wanted to say thank you, Matt and Darcy, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
You guys did great. Is this your podcast debut?
Yes.
Oh,
Ooh,
man.
look
That's
at
so
you.
fun. You did great. Appreciate you being here and showing us your expertise. But for now, thanks for watching.
Yeah.
You can get in touch with us on Instagram at Marina's Movie Club. Send us a DM, any suggestions that you have for future episodes, thoughts, or maybe in the future we'll do some like listener mail. You can tell us a fun story or a tidbit or something that we got wrong and would love to correct it live on the air. But for now, thank you so much for watching.
Wait,
or
Letterboxd?
listening. Oh, Letterboxd.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, Letterboxd Movie Club Pod. Would you like to share your Letterboxd, Matt?
I don't know it off the top of my head. Maybe next time.
Yeah, that's fair.
We'll have you back. All right. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.